What's good guys, Dexter Daniel Bartz here from engineeredbydex.com. Welcome to another video. Today I'm going to show you producers how you can go about mixing your drums. We're talking about the kick, we're talking about the snare, we're talking about hi-hats, shakers, all the percussive elements that specifically makes up the drum section. I'm going to show you guys my thinking behind mixing drums. Oh yeah, just before I continue, I want to make a point that this is specifically for electronic drums. I don't mean drums that were made for electronic dance music. When I say electronic drums, I'm talking about drum patterns that have been made in DAWs like Ableton, like Pro Tools, like Logic, sampled kicks and snares that have been put together in a DAW, not a drum kit that has been recorded live. There's a big difference in terms of how you approach mixing when it comes to a live drum kit opposed to an electronically produced drum pattern in a DAW.
Just a quick point before I hop into the rest of the video, guys. The changes I'm making in the processing are a bit difficult to hear with monitors or with speakers, so I suggest throwing on a pair of headphones to hear exactly what's going on.
So the first thing I want to point out in this session is the way I actually group the drums. I create a percussive group, I call it perk for percussion, and then I add all of my drum stems within the group or the drum bus. So within the drum bus or within the group, I have a kick, I have a snare, I have an extra percussive element that's actually layered with the snare, and then I have a shaker as well. So I'm gonna start you guys off with the kick, but first and foremost I'm just gonna play the drum pattern. It's definitely punchy, definitely comes through. It sounds clean, it sounds well processed. Yeah, I'm gonna show you guys how I went about mixing the specific drum pattern. So I'm gonna start off with the kick and show you the processing. So for the most part, I kept the EQ on the kick very minimal. There wasn't a lot I needed to do, and that's one thing new engineers need to actually get a hang of. I feel like a lot of times we go into a project trying to EQ every little thing and try to change the original sound. The truth is the best engineers are the ones who can make the song sound quality without actually changing up the timbre or the tone of the actual instruments. So with this EQ, with a kick, basically I just rolled off some of the high end. I just felt that extra sizzle on the top end wasn't really necessary, for the specific kick sample. Kept all of the mids, I kept the majority of the highs because I feel like it's a very clicky kick, and that clickiness actually, comes out from the top end on the sample. I kept it in because it's very important for kicks to come out on laptop speakers, come through on phone speakers and mono systems. Yeah, so I really love clicky kicks like this because come through quite well on consumer grade music playback systems and things like that. So with regards to the EQ, didn't do a lot. So yeah, moving on to the compression. Over here I'm using Ableton's glue compressor. The one thing I want you guys to take note of when it comes to compression on electronic drum patterns is you don't actually need compression for the main purpose of compression. And what I mean by that is each sample gets triggered at the same velocity and at the same loudness. That's actually what a compressor does. It tames the loudness to a point where everything sounds level and even. Since we're dealing with electronic produced samples that are already level, there's no specific reason to use a compressor for its traditional applications. I use it to color the sound and to bring out the clickiness in this kick even more. As you guys will hear when I activate the compressor, we'll hear that the compressor actually clips slightly. This glue compressor over here has a soft clip feature, so I actually drive the kick quite heavy into the compressor so it does clip, and what this does is it adds harmonics, analog warmth warmth and all that kind of stuff. So this glue compressor by Cytomic is actually an analog model compressor. So it has that ability where you can drive it really hard without creating any unpleasant distortion, but it does add some harmonic depth to the actual instrument. So I'll play it for you guys. You can hear. So you guys can hear there's a slight difference in terms of that clickiness on the kick. You guys can actually see it clipping the output. I think there's a slight level difference as well, but I think for the most part it's definitely that added harmonics. And what this does, as I said, it emphasizes the clickiness on the kick drum even further. It's really great for allowing the kick to actually come through on smaller systems like phone speakers and those kinds of things. So experiment with analog model compressors for that specific reason. So next up, I'm actually gonna go to the snare. As you guys can hear, there's a lot of low end and a bit of boxiness in that snare that I don't feel is required at all. Having a look at my EQ on the snare, we can see that I removed a lot of that low end rumble. Some people may argue, but you're taking away the body of the snare. But to be honest with you guys, it sounds a lot cleaner in the mix as a whole. And in the song, there's actually a synth that takes a lot of that low, mid energy. So that bottom end from the snare just conflicts with the main synth in the instrumental. So yeah, I decided to just remove that completely, and it cleaned up the snare quite well. Play it with the instrumental itself so you guys can have a listen. And the thing is, there's actually a second percussive element that forms part of the snare. It's this percussion over here. So a lot of that, I don't want to say low end, but a lot of the punch comes from the second percussive layer. So there's no reason to really keep that bottom end punch on the snare if it's coming from the second layer. And another thing I actually want to note is the use of mid-side EQ. Mid-side EQ is a very, I don't want to say advanced, but it is definitely more of the intermediate level when it comes to mixing. Basically, what I do with a specific snare is I want to get rid of the room tone because I want that snare to be a bit more clean. So what I do is I actually get rid of quite a lot of that low end and that mid energy coming from the side channels that actually make the majority of the room sound. I'll show you guys what I mean by this. So as you guys can hear, the snare sounds a lot more mono. A lot of the side reverb has been removed. That's how I like my snare. It just sounded good in this mix. You guys can experiment with, mid-side EQ. It's something that's really not spoken about, and it's a really powerful tool in terms of actually cleaning up the mix. Those are the two main EQ moves I'm making on this specific snare. Secondly, I have the same glue compressor that I have on the kick, I have on the snare, just with slightly different settings. It's for exactly the same reason. I wouldn't say it's as drastic as the kick, but it definitely adds a bit of punch and a bit of warmth. Very subtle, but it's definitely there. Now we're gonna go to the second percussive element under the snare. So yeah, similar, very similar processing on this layer that I did on the snare itself. So that is essentially the bulk of the snare. It's both those together that create the snare sound. Both have very similar processing, but together they make the fullness that is the snare. And just a second thing on this percussive element, I also added a bit of stereo separation. And the reason for me adding the stereo separation on the snare layer, if both the snare and the second percussive layer are both dead center, it might overwhelm the mid energy a bit in the mix, and it might be a bit too loud. Think of it like a cake. A cake has various layers. Think of a wedding cake specifically. You get the various pieces. So I feel like this second percussive element is like bottom layer, and then like dead center you get a snare that's sitting in mono. You know, it's playing with depth in the mix, it's playing with space. I just feel like if both had that mono emphasis, there'll be just too much punch in the snare itself as a group. And now we're going on to the shaker. So it's a very simple shaker, and as you guys can see, again, not a lot of processing. Basically just have an EQ on the shaker. Majority of the EQ is to get rid of that low end and that mid energy that's not really needed on a shaker. So as you guys can see over here, there is you know, low end on the shaker that's not needed. So I just cut that out completely. And then another thing I like to do when it comes to hi-hats and when it comes to shakers is I like to veil the sound. And what this means is I actually intentionally cut some of the highs to darken the sound, so it isn't as sharp in your ear. I'll play it with and without that top end EQ so you guys can hear the difference. As you guys can hear, there's a bit more sizzle on the top end. I'm not really a fan of top end sizzle, even when it comes to my reverb. So I just dull it so it's not as sharp. So yeah guys, that's the processing I use in the shaker. There's no compression there. I didn't feel a need to add more punch or add more harmonics to the shaker. I felt like it's, you know, it's there, it does what it's supposed to. With regards to the drum bus as a whole, I just have a slight bit of compression on the drum group. Basically what that compression does is just to tighten up the drum bus a bit. So yeah, not a lot going on there. As I said in the beginning, when it comes to electronically produced instrumentals, there's no need for a lot of processing. Best engineers are the ones who can get away with the least amount of processing to preserve the original sound and integrity of, you know, the files. Yeah, I feel like I accomplished the goal. It's a nice punchy drum kit, works in the mix with the other instruments. The biggest takeaway that you guys should have from this specific video is the mid-side point that I made. I feel like it's a very underrated technique. Go into your software, throw on an EQ, see if it has a mid-side feature, and yeah, just play around. When it came to EQ, a lot of the moves, or actually 100% of the moves that I made was for subtractive EQ. So I didn't add a lot of top end mids. Everything I did when it came to EQ was to take away what was not needed. It's a lot better to take away what's not needed than to enhance things in the sample. Always go with that approach. So guys, there you have it. I hope you producers learned a lot from today's video. engineeredbydex.com. I'll see you guys in the next video.